Buick has always been touted as kind of an old man's vehicle, but they're trying to make a change over the last few years. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, what they've done is kind of take more of a youthful approach, and you can see this in their commercials where people are literally looking out, trying to find the person in the Buick and just can't notice it. Now, behind me is one of the latest additions, the 2015 Buick Regal GS. So let's take a look and see how much younger this company has gotten. One way to be more youthful is really starting on the inside, but honestly, it has to start on the outside just the same. Now, the way Buick does that is get rid of a lot of bloated designs and go more with the kind of sport look you see here. Now, what I see is a lot of blending of maybe some competition. The BMW 3 Series, well, that's kind of in the silhouette, a nice sloping roofline like I remember on some of the BMW series, and even better, this little design right here, similar to the Charger, nice little accent. Now, what all that means is, well, they're taking a couple of the competitions and putting it on theirs, making it really their own. Taking a longer look at this profile, what I like is really the sculpting as you come to the back end. Now, you'll notice this kind of rear deck lid, it's going to sweep around. We'll get to that in just a second. And this nice chisel line runs about the midline all the way down the vehicle. Now, even better, chisel meets curve. Really, as you sweep down, nice hard line, really sweeps down to the haunches here on the edge. Now, the track is just a hair wider. It does feel a lot bigger than that than it actually is in the numbers. Now, as for body color, all the way around the vehicle, nice on the handles, and just a hint of chrome accents really where you need it. Even better down low on those wheels. The back end design is really just as important as the front. Now, what you're going to see here is a built-in spoiler on the rear deck lid, and its nice sweeping curve all the way around. Now, another feature that's really take precedence is the tail light assembly. Now, most of the time it used to be just stuck on the back, it's all you saw. Now we're wrapping it around to the rear haunches once again, giving a little bit of profile that you can see from all the way around. Now, like again, we're bringing some chrome. Now, this chrome is not too stark, it's a nice brush chrome, really the Buick emblem being a lot brighter. Down low in the GS, you're going to find dual exhaust, and they're going to be wrapped around that nice brushed chrome. Now, I did notice in kind of an open airport down here, nice adorned in black. It's going to help a little bit with airflow. Now, there is safety built into the back of the GS, and it's going to be parking sensors. That's going to help with getting in those tight spots and the cross traffic awareness. Now, also coming standard on most sedans is a backup camera. That's going to be tucked way down here low, giving you a bird's eye view of what's behind you. For the GS model, you're going to notice a unique front end, what I call grille warfare. Now, the waterfall grille is the most prominent and front and center. It's going to have more of that kind of polished chrome accent with a little bit of brushed aluminum around it. Now, its body color, of course, all the way around the bumper, and you're going to see those typical stylized headlights coming up and sweeping around the hood frame. Now, down low is parking sensors, something that's really come to the market over the last several years. It used to be just at the back end. Now we're giving you access at the front, really helping you really fine-tune those tight spots. Now, even better, the matching dual exhaust at the back is kind of coupled with the dual kind of ports up front. Really nice airflow all the way around the front of the vehicle. By the numbers, the Regal measured in about 190 inches overall, with the wheelbase around about 108, putting it pretty well into the mid-size segment, easily going up against the competition. Now, for the GS model, it's going to sit a little bit lower than the standard version, and it sits on standard 19-inch wheels, or the as seen 20-inch you see here. Now, for the base Regal, well, it's going to come sitting on standard 18-inch wheels. One key feature really starts in your pocket, and it is called the Smart Key system. Pretty much a lot of vehicles are coming with it, and thankfully the Regal just the same. Now, what that means is pretty much go to any door, press the button, it's going to unlock with ease. Now, even better, it really all comes together here at the cargo area. Now, there's going to be a nice electronic release right here underneath the emblem. That's going to open this hatch and give you access to the trunk. Now, one thing to note, there are two power plants here, the 2.0 or the 2.4, and that does compromise trunk space. Here we have the 2.0 liter, which means we have around about 11 cubic feet. Now, if you opt for the 2.4, well, you're actually going to increase your trunk space to around about 14 cubic feet. Now, what's the difference? Well, depending on what you're carrying, either an extra golf bag or some luggage. It's always fun to see what lies beneath the floor. Well, in this case, no full-size spare, but instead just an air pump. Now, what's great is this does couple together with the tire monitoring system, easily giving you the kind of PSI for each tire, and have this here just in case you need it. The Regal GS comes with two Powerplant options, both in an inline 4-cylinder engine, either a 2.4 liter or the as-tested 2.0 turbocharged engine. Now, what's the difference? Really, it comes down to horsepower, with the smaller engine delivering about 182 horses and 172 foot-pounds of torque. This one, 259 horses and 295 foot-pounds of torque. Now, the GS does come in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive version. We tested the all-wheel drive. Now, even better, really comes down to 0 to 60, and what really does the best is the manual transmission with the front-wheel drive. That's going to get you around about 6.2 seconds from 0 to 60. Now, if you go with the one we have here, going to actually creep up to around about 6.8 because we do have the automatic transmission and, of course, the all-wheel drive. Before you climb inside, one thing to note about this key fob, well, it does have the good old traditional, but really I couldn't find anywhere to put it except here in the door when you need it in a jam. Now, another nice feature has to be the remote start. Now, the way it works is you kind of make sure the car is locked, and then you're going to press and hold it, and it's going to crank it right up. Now, that's really great on kind of the warm and cold days. The hot ones we've had especially, really cooling this vehicle down before you long get inside. Anytime you have a kind of a sport model on the outside, well, it's really got a match here on the inside, and the GS does that quite well. Where you're going to notice it, really in these bucket style seats up front. Now, it can be kind of accommodating for most people, but in some cases may be just too tight as these sides kind of wrap around and really make you a snug fit. Now, as for the legroom numbers, not too bad. 42 inches up front and around about 37 inches in back. Pretty good legroom all the way around. One of the biggest innovations you're going to find on the gauge cluster, instead of the old analog, well, you're going to find a huge LCD digital display. Now, the good old tachometer is still analog, but the speed really just straight digital right there at the top of your LCD. Now, what's great is there's a lot of information you can scroll through down below. Simply press the corresponding button on the steering wheel and you can get up-to-date information like trip mileage, fuel economy, fuel range, and really just what's going on with the vehicle, even the tire pressure monitoring system I mentioned earlier. Now, even better, it couples together with the navigation, giving you the speed in the location you're at, so you can easily know kind of what the speed limit is where you are. On the steering wheel, it's going to be lots of buttons, really starting with the kind of menu select and volume entertainment system on the right, and the speed control on the left. Now, what's great is that is adaptive cruise control. Now, if you're not a real big fan of that, well, there's no other option. You simply have to use it. But I like the fact that you can simply set it real easy, set your spacing, and the vehicle is pretty much going to set your speed based on the traffic around you. As it opens up, of course, it's going to go back up to the cruise you set. Center on the dash is the huge oversized touchscreen system, the IntelliLink by Buick, and what's great is this is kind of the newest evolution, really kind of simplifying a lot of the operation and maybe taking out some of those kinks that I found in previous models. Now, I like the fact that it makes the ease of use. Now, one thing I would help here is if they do similar to what Ford does, breaking this into a 4-quadrant system, zooming into certain areas as you need it, but instead you really just have kind of the home button that's going to give you all the functions in one screen, and then you just kind of pick and go where you want. Now, what's great is, of course, Buick is bringing the latest in technology when it comes to Wi-Fi, and they have that built in here just the same. Of course, that's a paid option that you can always upgrade to. Now, across the top is a lot of buttons for the driving dynamics, really turning off the traction control, the lane departure, and the parking assist. Now, what you'll notice on the left and right is the driving dynamic modes, now the GS and the Sport. Now, what's great, when you press those buttons, it's going to change the dynamic of the car, and even better, the gauge cluster, going back to the good old speedometer through analog-like function. We have dual climate up front here on the GS, and they're really controlled by these digital displays here. Now, instead of really toggle buttons, we have these kind of press sensitive ones. Now, it does take a little bit getting used to, and I hope they don't wear out over time. Now, if you notice, we do have the heated seats up front option, and I can notice kind of a ghost image of the cooled seat down here. Now, would have been great as if that was a standard feature here, considering we are in the hot months and that heated seat just ain't doing it. As you sweep down the dash, you'll find this little niche here once you open it up. A nice little coin area, or a little storage. It doesn't hold a lot, but it is there if you need it. And of course, a power outlet. Now, it would be great if you put a USB connections here. Now, you'll find them somewhere else, but it wouldn't hurt to put him just the same, as you do have the power. Wouldn't hurt to have some more connectivity. Between the front seats, you're going to find dual cup holders, pretty modest, and they're going to offer decent space, and they're kind of a two-tiered, so one's higher than the other. Now what you'll find is decent armrest support. Now for the passenger, not so much, considering they had to make room for the cup holders. Now what you're going to find here is the connectivity I mentioned earlier with a power supply and dual USB and auxiliary jack. Now that should be kind of placed maybe a little bit further up front, but not a bad location just the same. Now to the beside it is going to be storage, and it's going to be, well, a little tight. About the only storage up front you can find besides the glove compartment. Sweep around to the second row. Again, you're going to see the same style sports seating that we have in the front. A little bit more spacious, not as sculpted, but again, individualized attention. Now in between, you're going to find a nice armrest with some storage, dual cup holders. Now this came in handy for a beach trip with 3 kids, all the stuff in the back and plenty of comfort to go around. Now there was nice airflow back here and even some power supply for the kids. Now even better is if you want to take that kind of modest storage from the trunk and creep it into here. These back seats, even though they're sculpted, can be folded flat. This is kind of a 70-30 split, and what you do is simply pull on this handle and it's going to tumble forward. Now even better with the headrest in, everything lays flat. That does it for this edition of Road Warrior. Now test drive behind the wheel of the 2015 Buick Regal GS, the sporty, youthful approach from Buick. And heck, sometimes you may not be able to tell what you're actually looking at until you climb behind the wheel. Now what you're going to notice on the GS, well, it's a lower stance, a little bit wider track, and heck, just a heck of a lot more sportier than the average Buick used to be. Now, as always, I'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.